How's it going? This is Joe and Tell. Today we're going to be taking a look at this brand new Monolith Encore B6 bookshelf speaker. Super excited about these. I've had these for maybe about a couple weeks now, so I've been trying them out. I really like them, and they're at a price point that I think is just ridiculous. In this price range, I don't know how anyone's going to beat this. That's really how I feel about these speakers. You know what? The best place to probably start is just to go from my experience. So I got these. They're passive speakers. Monolith, of course, is my channel sponsor, one of my channel sponsors, and so I have to say that up front. First of all, unboxing experience was more than you expect for this price point. You know, it came in that cloth. You take that off, and then the first thing I see is this top part. So budget speaker, and I see this like glossy finish. You can see there's the top, there's the side, and then the bottom is also glossy. First thing to know is that it is not a small bookshelf speaker. Probably one of the larger bookshelf speakers that I've reviewed. It has some weight to it. It looks nice. So there's the front with the grill. Has the Monolith. Looks real nice. And then if I spin it around, you see the back. Those binding posts actually look a lot like some posts that I've seen on like maybe some ELAC speakers. I don't know. There's the port. Kind of a smaller port than I expected for a speaker this size. Let's take a look at the front. So I pop off the grill. Now, first sign that this is not the most expensive speaker, not a magnetic grill. Okay, but the thing I'm happy about is at least the pegs are here and not on this. I don't like it when it sticks out here. That looks the worst to me. And so, boom, you take that off. You see a big old waveguide. I love that. You know, I've seen this on a few speakers. I'm no expert when it comes to waveguides, but I assume that helps it. Basically, the directivity between this and the tweeter is more similar because of that waveguide. It looks like a 1-inch soft dome. This looks like a maybe treated paper. It's smooth with a coating, rubber surround. To me, it's a handsome looking speaker. You know, not overly fancy, but I think more than you expect at this price point. I'm gonna keep saying that over and over. We should talk about that price point. These are coming in at 179 bucks each. But let's take a look here at the pictures. Looks good with the grill on, in my opinion. Yeah, 360 bucks for a pair. What can beat these at 360 bucks a pair? So we have a multi-story home here. The garage is on the bottom floor. And I just started testing these with all kinds of music. Just a single one, just to kind of get an idea of the tonality of the speaker. First impression, I just unboxed one single Monolith speaker. And yeah, here it is. It looks hot. How much are these? That's crazy. Are you serious? That is crazy. That's crazy. How are these not gonna measure well? I just can't imagine it. This is the bookshelf, and I have some floor standing versions of this. I'm not the dramatic type. You already know me. And that's for good reason, because when something awesome does happen, I want you guys to realize, like, all right, that's next level. I never see Joe like that, right? And that's what's happening right now. This got me acting stupid. Funny. So I'm just playing this one speaker, no subs, got it turned up pretty loud. I want to see what it can do. And my wife just messaged me. It's like massaging my feet in the kitchen. It's crazy. So I unplugged the speaker because right now I am testing to make sure that subs aren't on. Like, I'm not even joking. So I have it disconnected. I hear no sound, no bass, nothing. I'm just gonna connect this one speaker right here. All right, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Feel so comfortable with you. I'm gonna go upstairs to see how it sounds. I checked it. Subs
Okay.
are not on.
It feels like they are. Are you sure?
There's no. That's it. That's the only thing playing.
I can feel it on my feet right now, like it's massaging my feet. Is that the purpose?
Yeah. So when you say you can hear it from the kitchen, this is a new one. You can feel it from the kitchen. And that's when I made that one video that you guys might have seen, where I just did a YouTube short testing out some speakers right now that frankly I'm just so excited about. I can't talk about them, I can't say what they are, but it really got me excited about speakers again and audio. I wanted to do that because I felt like I couldn't recreate the excitement of that moment. Like, it doesn't happen very often. You know, I get a lot of speakers and I'm like, all right, cool, another pair of speakers. Oh, these are cool. Yeah, these are good. Yeah. But not very often am I like, What is going on with these speakers? These are crazy. I'll read you some specs. So 6.5-inch fiber pulp cone. Fiber pulp is another way to say paper pulp. NBR surround, 25mm cloth dome with waveguide, neodymium magnet. It's vented, aka ported. MDF cabinet, thank you for not making a HDF cabinet. Horizontal shelf bracing. Their claimed frequency response, and this is hilarious, plus or minus 3 dB, is 49 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Keep that in mind. Remember, I said 49 hertz. The nominal impedance is 4 ohms. Sensitivity is 85 decibels at 2.83 volts, 1 meter. They have their frequency response graph here, which I think is legitimate. I trust what Monolith puts out. I will be showing my frequency response measurements. Mine aren't perfect, they're just in a room, but it kind of gives you an idea of why I'm so excited about these. They announced the B6 bookshelf, but also the T6 tower. I feel like these deserve their own video. Although tonally, here's the thing I like. Tonally, all of them sound similar. So the timbre of all of them are all matched. You'd think that would be a thing, right? Like, of course they match because they're using the same driver and tweeter. Believe me, there are a lot of speakers that I've reviewed where they're using the same drivers, but for some reason the crossover or the way they have it set up, the center channel sometimes has like a weird response that the other ones don't. It's kind of weird. But yeah, these tonally all match, and I'll show you in my measurements in a bit. But I also did some binaural sound demos. You guys might have seen that I did some demos that were blind demos on my channel where I said, like, check out these bookshelf speakers, compare them. And although these weren't the top ones, the ones that were rated higher by you guys are more than twice as much. And those, by the way, were the Polk Reserve R200, which I think they're excellent speakers. One of the things is I also towed them in because the directivity on those is so narrow that if I didn't, you'd be like, man, there's no treble on that. So I towed them in, and I don't know if I did them an extra favor by doing that. Again, it's not a scientific thing that I'm doing where it's like perfectly controlled. It's just more trying to give you guys more of an idea than you had before. So I have a demo. If you go to the AV Summit, you can just look at the Monolith page, and you can also see a demo of their Monolith Encore towers. And these did score the highest. I guess I didn't show this yet, but yeah, the floor standers have 3 6.5-inch woofers, and they're $399 each. You could say, hey, the Polk Reserve, is only what, $750, $800 depending on if it's on sale. Those are only $750. Why not just save up for those? And I might say, well, if you can do floor standers, why don't you spend about the same amount, get these instead of the bookshelf? It's kind of tough when you're competing at this price point. These are just killers. And then there's a center channel there, $249. I thought this was gonna be ported, but it's not. And I don't mind that because it sounds tonally similar to the other speakers. If it sounded different, then I wouldn't like that so much. My listening experience with one, I was already like, dang, this is crazy. And you guys know me already. I'm impressed with bass. Why? And clean bass. I'm not talking about some sloppy, nasty bass. I'm talking about good, clean, low bass extension. The reason being, if I'm going to recommend some speakers to somebody who's brand new, I'm going to tell them, get these speakers, get a Class D amp, small little system, maybe even under $500. For people who are new, believe me, that's a stretch. Like, $500 is not cheap. So you get something like that, maybe something used, whatever, and then you get these speakers, right? But what happens most of the time is I recommend some bookshelf speakers, and the truth is they probably need a sub. All right, so how much is a decent sub? Well, I don't want to recommend a crappy sub because it's not going to add that much deep bass extension. A decent sub is going to be another $600. Okay, so let's say I tell them where I just get a whatever sub, spend $200 on a sub. All right, cool. Well, you have to make sure that you can blend the sub with the main speakers. Now that's not even easy, right? Even if you have UMic 1, $89. Mini DSP 2x4 HD, 200 something bucks. So it starts to add up. And plus they have to learn how to do all that to be able to blend the stuff. But if you have some speakers that already have some good bass, you don't have to do that. I can just tell them, get a Class D amp, get these speakers, plug them in, and that's it. You're gonna have good sound with good bass. This is the frequency response of the Monolith Encore B6 bookshelf. And this is just in my room. What do we see here? I mean, just looking at this looks pretty extremely good. How else can I say that? Now, if I were to nitpick, which we have to because that's what we do. If I were to nitpick, say, oh, this doesn't look perfect right here. This looks kind of like a bass bump, and this is all true, but it does have the slight downward slope that I like, right? So it's not going to sound overly bright. And then you might say, okay, well, this is not perfect here, right? Over here, this is not perfect. Maybe that's that waveguide kind of acting maybe kind of like a horn. All I know is it sounds good to me. So none of this is offensive to me. Maybe to somebody else, maybe they're like, I don't like this, what's happening here. Okay. But a lot of this can also be resolved just by towing them out a little bit, and I'll show you that. There's the front. So what I do is I take an average of the sound that's coming from the front. So not just directly on axis, but kind of like 30 degrees to the left, 30 degrees to the right, maybe 10 degrees up and down, right? So that's kind of like where you'd be if you're sitting in front of it. I also took a measurement of the front and back. So I kind of just went around the speaker to kind of get the back of the port, right? Because that's where the port is. And I got a response kind of more similar to this. This bump here might be the table that this thing is sitting on. This is not smooth. This is 1/48th average smoothing. So if you use REW, you know you can use different types of smoothing to make it look better. I can go in here and go psychoacoustic smoothing. Oh, look, it's so smooth, but you know. And then I just did the port by itself. Now here's the interesting thing to notice about the port. It goes up here. So this is at the port. This is me measuring the port specifically. You see this rise around here, maybe 120, then it dips down, right? But then it goes back up, right? So then the port does something else. And I believe my buddy Aaron talked about something called the Chebyshev port tuning. So there's different port tunings that you can use, and they always have their pros and cons, you know, maybe less chuffing, so less turbulence at the port. And the thing I noticed about this one that I showed you guys at the beginning is the port is actually looks kind of small, right? For what the size of the speaker and the size of the enclosure. A lot of times you'll see companies go with a larger port opening to reduce any turbulence or what they call port chuffing. But this one has a smaller port, and typically what that tells you is a smaller port is a lower tuning frequency. And that's what we're seeing here. Now look at this tuning. This is where the bump happens. Okay, bookshelf speaker. Let's just say this is the top, right? And if I take 3 decibels down from here, so let's say this is 83.8. So at 80.8, we're talking about 21.8 hertz. Like, what are we talking about here? This is why I'm so hyped up about these speakers. You know, even though when I combine them, so this is the front and back. So this is the port. You see the port and what it's doing here, that slow bass extension. You see that the speaker is actually dropping off, right? So it's not like this is the straight line straight across like this, right? Which is what you want. That's not to say that we can ignore this, right? That's kind of like you have an extra sub over there that maybe not perfectly integrated, but this is real bass, right? Real bass that you're gonna get. You can't ignore this bass. And that's what gets me hyped up about this speaker. If you were gonna use this in a home theater and you said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna cut it off at 80 hertz. Forget all this. I don't need that. I'm gonna use a sub. All right, well, cool. Ignore that then. Here is the bookshelf speaker with no grill. Here's with the grill. Typically what you want to see is very little effect. And on the orange, I don't see very much effect. So grill on, grill off, doesn't matter too much. And then I did some on axis, right? So this is the on axis. Like I just went direct on axis with the tweeter. Then 45 degrees horizontal. I did 45 degrees below. Right, so you can see 45 degrees. If you're below it, actually is pretty smooth. So if you have to put the speakers a little higher than your seated position, no problem. Typically, above is no good though. And let's see if that's the case here. Above is the worst because you can see it dips down here, and that's normal. I mean, for a two-way speaker, typically above the speaker is the worst. I guess the takeaway is you see that it looks very similar across the board here, and that usually just means that we have pretty good directivity. Now, I think Aaron will get some of these to put on the clipple, and he'll put all those measurements out, and you guys will see whether what I'm saying is true or if I'm full of crap. You know, you guys will be able to tell from the clipple, just more objective data. What I try to do is I try to give my subjective opinion and back it up a little bit with some objective data so you guys know that I'm not just pulling stuff out of my hat. Quickly, I'm just gonna show the center channel, and like I was saying, you know, they look very similar. So tonally very similar. Here is, where's the floor stander? Tonally similar. But compared to the bookshelf to the floor stander, what do you expect? More bass, and yep, you get that. And look at what this port is doing over here. Yeah, you're getting some pretty crazy bass extension. Remember, so going back to the bookshelf, Monolith claimed 49 hertz. They said, okay, this is where the bass ends, right here, right? 49 hertz. They're not even counting this. So just consider that free bass. That doesn't sound right. Consider that extra bass that you didn't have to pay for. Or I guess you did pay for it. So that's it for the graphs. If you guys don't have a speaker system already and you're just like, oh, which one should I get? This is a great first system. Great. If you already have a system and you just have some money that's burning a hole in your pocket and you just want something else, and you know, you have $400 to spend, you know, $360 to spend, then you can get some of these bookshelf speakers, And if you don't like them, send them back. I think they have, what, 30 days? So use case for these would be if you're looking for an inexpensive pair of bookshelf speakers for a 2-channel system and you don't plan on wanting to have to buy a sub, and you listen to music that requires some deep bass extension, these are it. Okay, so around that $350 price point, these are it. If you want to do a home theater setup, or maybe you plan on upgrading to a home theater setup, these are a good way to go, because if you set them up as your front, left, and right, maybe they can eventually move to side surround if you end up getting the floor standing speakers, or you can just get 5 of these, or you can get two more of these for the front, left, and right surround, and then get the center channel if you want to get the center channel. For desktop use, I think it's a little bit big. I think a little big for a desktop. I think there are other solutions that are more suitable for a desktop, especially some of these powered speakers, because they already have DSP correction. Right? So you wouldn't have to get DSP. But I think for home theater, 2-channel systems, these are the way to go. And very easily, I can easily recommend these even if you plan on adding a sub later, because the upper frequencies are also good. It's not just that it has bass. Upper frequencies are good. All right, so here we are back at the speaker leaderboard, and let's take a look at where these Encore B6 bookshelves place. Now here in the best bookshelf category, some of these are a little bit high when I relook at it, but I think it's because I'm taking into account functionality. So some of these speakers, like the 5s and the SyncCell Alpha, are powered speakers. This is a powered speaker, and so you have to take into account the value based on what's included. So if it's an active speaker, that means it comes with an amplifier. Sometimes they have some extra functionality, and so that's taken into account here. This is not just based on sound quality. But overall, I would say that I would put the Encore B6 right here below the Polk Audio Reserve R200s, which are more than twice as much, and also above the Wharfdale Diamond 12.1s, which I really liked a lot. Now, as far as price, these are under $500. So these will definitely go at the very top of the under $500 category. So here in the final column, it's the best overall sound quality regardless of price. So this is not taking into account the features, just purely based on sound quality. And I would have to say in this case, maybe slightly under the Polk Reserve R200. So there you go. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. That's it. Take care. Bye-bye.